The topic that we're going to be covering today is the future of video storytelling, and what better surroundings could we have than Hollywood to talk about video in advertising. And I'm delighted to introduce to you a stellar panel of experts within the field who are going to help us over the next 30-40 minutes to really get under the surface of this subject. So without any further ado, why don't we run down the panel and get them to introduce themselves. You can see their names and titles up there. We've abbreviated your titles slightly because there wasn't enough time in the entire panel to actually announce your title.
I didn't know I had a big title.
Oh, okay. Okay, anyway, so we'll go along the panel and we'll start with you, Alison.
Hi, great, thank you so much. I'm Alison Griffin and I'm the VP of Marketing at Intel. There you go. I feel like that's a pretty easy title. Global marketing. I don't know. Is that the word that was too long? I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm in the Bay Area, which is why I made the quip that I'm not from here, but born and raised in California. So, woo. And I have the pleasure of having some responsibility to open the aperture and extend the Intel brand. So I'm positive that every single person here knows the Intel brand to some degree, and we're very fortunate for that. But that's not by accident. Decades and billions of dollars were spent making sure that you knew Intel inside. The issue now is that our brand is shifting to B2B. So in addition to PCs, we have to talk about and inspire with storytelling these new areas that most people aren't aware of. So I'm sure we'll get into it, but that's my big challenge.
So this is also an audience participation panel. So after 3, we're all going to make the Intel noise. Okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3.
Bum, 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 bum. Actually, a quick little story. It's called the bong. And it didn't occur to me that that was potentially funny and negative. Exactly. I swear to God, we call it the Intel bong.
So at the end of the panel, Intel bongs all round for everybody. Is that inappropriate? Okay, good. Cool. Actually, can I, sorry to interrupt, like the bong was like really bad. You need to up your bong game next time, people. Okay, next we have.
It wasn't good. That was an incredibly long title. Really good. Dave Kersey, SVP Group Director at Cara, currently managing the Disney business. We've been really pushing forward in the video space, looking at it holistically, shifting dollars from non-traditional, or I'm sorry, traditional channels more into the digital channels, and not only educating our clients, but bringing them along the journey with us on why that's important, why we follow audiences and whatnot. That's my title.
And at the far end of the panel, we have
Beth. I knew that was going to happen. Hello. Oh, there we go. Hi. So I'm Beth Traglia, and I work at Farmers Insurance. My job, I work on social media and also digital content initiatives. So I've been there about 4 years, and I was brought in to really try to take storytelling and apply it to the lowest dopamine category that exists, which is insurance. So you got Disney, you got computers, and I got insurance.
Very important.
Oh yeah, let's do my jingle.
Sorry, say again, over.
Let's do, I said let's do it.
Oh.
Okay, right. Does everybody know it in the audience? When I say do you know it?
We are farmers.
Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like
love
Intel,
you guys.
Intel just got outdone by an insurance company.
Suck it, Allison.
Fact.
There's no bong.
I'm very disappointed.
No bong.
I really wanted this panel to be feisty, and we haven't even got through the introductions yet. That's awesome. Okay, first question. Ready? All set? Okay, so as this topic is about the power of storytelling in video advertising, let's see if the panel can tell us what their favorite video ad was in the last 12 months. We going? Whatever. What's their favorite video ad in the last 12 months? Where did they see it? We'll start with Beth.
Oh, switching up. So let's see. One that comes to mind when I was thinking through the questions was Land Rover did, has anybody seen that Himalayan 3-minute long little documentary? Essentially, there's a town in the Himalayan mountains that it's way up in the clouds, and they operate, you know, they run supplies up and down the little treacherous roads. And it's all with, like, I think they have like 42 Land Rovers from the 1950s. And they're just, it's a 3-minute documentary with the guys who actually like drive on those crazy roads. And they sent a film crew there. I've researched for now, I don't normally know this kind of minutia, but like they sent a video crew for 10 days to spend time with these guys, and actually you can tell, I mean, even though it's only 3 minutes long, you can tell that they were there on those treacherous, scary roads, and probably was pretty dicey. So to me, it was like, it wasn't hammering home this idea of like, so go buy a Land Rover, but if you see, hey, this car has lasted these guys 50 years, and it's like obviously trying conditions, so me driving around Santa Monica, I'll probably be okay.
And where did you see that?
YouTube.
YouTube, okay, interesting. Next.
So I looked at it more from a recency standpoint, and I actually have two, if that's okay. I have two. One's automotive, Subaru. Has everyone seen the Subaru ads with the dogs in them? Dog tested, dog approved. I have a dog and I love my dog, and personally that connected with me, but when you really dig into it, it's more about them knowing their consumer base, and they know that 68% of their owners have pets, 50% of them are dogs, so leveraging that to push it out to the market to really stand for something. They've also extended that into pet adoptions. So really, you know, like a lot of brands are starting to do, and I know there's some questions around vulnerability, but meaning something more than an automotive brand and buying a car. It's, we stand for this, and that's why you should connect with us. My second one, a little less exciting, DoorDash. Have you guys seen the DoorDash stuff? Every flavor welcome. So it's kind of a play on our current political climate, cultural climate, but also it's DoorDash, right? Every flavor, you can literally have every type of food delivered to your house, and they executed that very well on TV or video. I saw it on Hulu. I saw Subaru on Hulu as well. But they extended it through mobile in a really creative and unique way, driving conversions, which I thought was pretty cool.
So how did they extend it?
So the experience on video was obviously what you would expect from video, but in mobile, it was more of an engagement experience where you can start deciding what type of food you want, and then it prompts you to look at restaurants that are aligned with probably what you're hungry for in the moment or at the time when you're engaging, which is cool. And then it prompts you to order food, right? Driving to conversions.
Which is awesome, and my children spend thousands of dollars every month on DoorDash. So it works. Anyway, so my favorite commercial, at least still, and I'm happy for somebody to knock it off its pedestal, is from Samsung. And to me, it's along the lines of what you guys are talking about. The why matters, and inspiring your target market, and really knowing who you're talking to and inspiring them. So this is the ostrich virtual reality commercial. I don't know if you know it, but Rocket Man is the soundtrack of this thing, and it is an ostrich who stumbles upon a VR headset, and instead of Samsung commercial talking about, here's a VR headset and it has this long of battery life and this many pixels and all that crap that tech companies are enamored with doing, it doesn't do that. The ostrich stumbles upon, sees the great unknown, stumbles, trying to fly, can't fly, and then takes off. And it is amazing. And it's like, yes, do what you can't with VR. And to me, I'm like, you know what? Sold.
We don't even need to see the ad now, right?
So good.
You just did.
Yeah. It's like the best commercial
So did you buy it?
I do have a VR headset. Yes.
A Samsung VR headset?
I do have a VR headset, yes. I do what can't be done.
Fantastic. So if you see Alison flying down Hollywood Boulevard at some point, you know that exactly what's going on. All right, so Alison,
yes.
You've talked to us very eloquently there about an amazing ad experience. Maybe you could share with us how these types of ads come into play. So what's the process for creating an amazing story?
So for us at Intel, we have a couple of different things. I think it's really easy, especially in the B2B space, to just kind of think about, all right, I need to do these elements in a newsletter or an opt-in in an event, or, you know, kind of like, I'll say the typical B2B advertising. And then you go try to find your target audience. You work with really great partners. Ours is the Dentsu Network. They're amazing. And you go,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you go find
We
where
should
your
separate these two
target
next time.
is. But to me, that's backwards. So obviously you start with who you're trying to talk to and understand what matters to them first and foremost. And so our process is that. Start with the who and tell them the why. The what is irrelevant, in my opinion. And I think especially in the tech sector, we do a lot of the what. And I think that's where we fall off, especially in the B2B space. So start with the person that you're trying to talk to and the why, and these inspirational stories that really engage and elicit some kind of emotion. Doesn't always have to be some wonderful, heartwarming thing. Could be funny, could be angry, whatever it is, as long as you know who you're talking to. Starting there is, I think, the most important.
So what happens, like some adverts that you watch are amazing, right? And you get really excited about it and you can't wait to tell people about it. And then there's a bunch of adverts that just are so irritatingly like meh. And you sit and you wonder, how did a creative person come up with that? What's happening there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just kind of checking boxes, if it's, I'm not sure, but it's definitely not knowing their audience, and it's definitely not relating to the why, because then it wouldn't be meh automatically. Now, it is true that if you do really great advertising to a specific audience and you are not the intended target, you may see it and not be moved by it. And the truth is, I think that's okay, because you're not the target. And we often tell, like, our executives, you know, how come I didn't see the ad running, or whatever. It's like, dude, because you, a C-suite, you know, at a 100,000 person tech company in Silicon Valley, is not who I'm trying to talk to. And the truth is, if you did see it, I'd call Dentsu and say, dude, your targeting is off. So anyway, I say that to say sometimes you might stumble across a piece of advertising that doesn't resonate with you, but it might be because you're not the target. Beth,
clearly your advertising has resonated with this audience already tonight. But what's your perspective on that? What's your perspective on the creative process in advertising?
So Farmers is really deliberate and insight-based when they make creative choices. So, okay, so Farmers, we're one of the insurance companies where we have agents, right? And so we know that basically the agent model costs more than the Progressives and the Geicos out there. So what we have to do is, in our spots, we have to really convey, like, here's what you get when you have an agent, right? Like, this is what you're paying extra for, essentially, which is supposed to be like that concierge-like service where we're like, oh, wait, you have a trampoline in your backyard? You have a, which is a thing, by the way, if you have a trampoline. And, like, you know, all of these bits and pieces that if you're, you know, think of all these career people and all of us career people in LA, you have an apartment, you have a house, and you've worked very hard for it. The idea of, like, if, I don't know, the cleaning lady slips and falls and sues you for liability, you're not covered. So people who care about that kind of turn is what we're going for in the commercials. So we have J.K. Simmons, who's a badass, and he is sort of the proxy for an insurance agent, and he's sort of walking the person through some crazy, outrageous claim, usually involving cute puppies, or some sort of animal. And yeah, we're just trying to sort of convey, here's an agent. We've seen everything out there, so we've covered so many crazy things. We can surely cover your normal life.
So you all work with brands that are very trusted by consumers, either directly as the people that work for the brands or indirectly through the agency. How do you use video to build trust?
So one way that we're doing it is through storytelling. So insurance is an area where there are a lot of questions. Like people just, I'll just write a check. I have no idea what, what I'm getting. So especially as we start to target millennials, we've started to focus on that Q&A sort of educational storytelling. But what we're also doing is taking the agent and letting them tell that answer. So say a consumer writes in a question of, my neighbor has this annoying tree that hangs over my fence, and I know it's going to fall down. If it falls down and hits my garage, am I liable? Is he liable? Whose insurance covers it? And then we'll actually have an agent answer that question. And the goal there is to, again, prove the value of, an agent can actually take this 17-page miserable piece of mail that you get and actually turn it into something you understand.
Dave, what about you?
So Disney's one of the most trusted brands in the country, maybe world. So really it's about communicating that the experience you'll have at one of the parks or theatrical or whatnot is true to what you believe Disney to be. And I think them as a brand, they always deliver on that promise, that experience, that magical moment. So for us, it's ensuring we're communicating to the right audiences. So audience first, and tailoring the message to that audience to show them what the experience would look like for a preschool parent or a young adult, if it's for that type of adventure experience. But just always being true to the brand and ensuring that they know that what they see in video actually happens in real life.
So Disney's one of the most trusted brands in the world.
Do you not agree?
Who's seen Snow White? Snow White? Everybody seen Snow White? Like, what about the witch
That was
woman?
a true story.
Oh, really? Okay. Like, there's some characters in there that I'm just not trusting. Okay, Alison.
So at Intel, we're challenged to use our own technology in our marketing. And we do that so that there's an authenticness to what we're talking about. So that's one thing. The other is I was responsible for demystifying artificial intelligence. And robots are going to rise up and kill you in your sleep. And we want to show that, no, that's not true, that artificial intelligence is doing a lot of good in the world. So we are using video in the form of films to show really cool stories about AI helping, change the world. I sound like an episode of Silicon Valley. But, and if any, please, thank you. Okay, So we're, like an example, I'll tell a little story here. So Snotbot. We are using drones and artificial intelligence to fly off of ships in the middle of the ocean over whale colonies and collecting their DNA, their snot, on the drones. The drones are taking their temperature, first time a whale temperature has ever been taken in the history of the world, and a lot of other data. Bringing it back to the ships and calculating a whole bunch of algorithms and a whole bunch of stuff to tell us the health of the oceans, which tells you the health of humans in the world. And so whale research has advanced by light years now that we have this artificial intelligence and drone technology. So we did a series of films to talk about that. It's using our own technology. It's trying to be inspirational and making aware that AI is really used for good in the world. So from our perspective, we think these films are a really great way to break through and to get a couple of our goals met.
Excellent. I was glad that you explained what Snotbot was. I was struggling with that one a little bit.
Whale snot's fun to do campaigns around.
I'm sure. Okay, so as all of you know, I've been in LA for about 18 hours. Yeah, 18 hours now. So clearly I'm an expert in American culture and all of that. And I've got the feeling that there's a movement in American culture at the moment around vulnerability. For example, Brene Brown opened South by Southwest this past year. How vulnerable can a brand be with its messages?
Can you tell us who Brene Brown is?
Yeah, so Brene...
Yeah, really?
Brene Brown. Brene, as I like to call her. I think you'll find she's a researcher and a professor who has 7 New York Times published books. Yeah. Did my research since the conference call, and I had no idea who that person was. Okay, awesome. Anyway, so there's vulnerability, like right here at the moment on this stall. There's vulnerability, and I can feel that in American culture as I've driven around LA today. So let's get to it. So Beth, let's start with you. So you've had some edginess with the GO Media network recently. So, like, is it acceptable for you to be in a vulnerable position as a brand, and can you use video to deal with that?
So I would say that that's one of, it's like every 3 months, right? Like our prime prospect is a news junkie. And so we advertise on not only, you know, that show, but like far left-wing stuff or right-wing stuff. There are certain areas where we avoid, obviously, but it's not uncommon for farmers to be like called out on that kind of thing. So one other area that we get called out on a lot is we have tons of, like, it seems like we have tons of animals in our commercials. And I would say, like, you know, most of those animals are not real. Like the dog diving, the ones, I don't know if you guys remember the dogs doing the synchronized swimming routine, real dogs. But the squirrels were not real. The moose was not real, you know, like, so we get a lot of flack from, like, you know, animal rights groups as soon as a spot goes out. And so what we've started doing is actually building in that fallout to our campaign. So, like, for example, did you guys see the ad where the squirrels are like throwing pine cones at the car below? So not real squirrels, synthetic fur, by the way, because we also then got, you know, oh, well, if you're using real fur, that's squirrel death. So, so what we did was, when that spot was on air, we ran, as part of our Facebook campaign, these guys who have the best job in the world. They literally are like the squirrel puppeteers, and they're like, there was a group of 3 guys with all the squirrels, and so exposing that behind the scenes video as part of our just sort of proactive message, it sort of allows us to control those moments, but they're inevitable. I mean, everybody gets in the crosshairs.
Snotbot and squirrel death. As I said, there's going to be a lot of gravitas coming out of this panel today. Let's talk about vulnerability and Disney.
It's a brand that is a household brand, and what we've pushed forward in the last year is a campaign around kidfluence. So targeting kids, which there's a lot of issues around that. There's a lot of legality, COPA compliance. There's a number of parents that are not for it. There's some parents that it's already in their DNA. They're watching Disney Channel, Disney Junior, so why not target them through acceptable avenues? So we've started going down this road, and it was the first time the organization put financing behind targeting this segment. And we've gotten a lot of slack for it, but the reality is we're not doing it where it's tell your parents you want to go to Disneyland. It's more of giving them content and building a relationship with kids about the Disney brand. So it's not telling them or prompting them to do anything, but we know inherently and through research, it's the nag factor. So once they're exposed, mom, dad need to go now, and parents are pissed, right? But we don't do it in a way where we're telling them to do that. It's more about, this is Disney, and this is how you can relate to Disney as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. Build that relationship through life, and if you nag your parents after the fact, it's good for us.
I see you've met my kids.
We target them. But that's one thing, and I think when you're a brand, you have to be a bit vulnerable. You have to know what your product is and who you are and who you're trying to reach. And your advertising has to be value to consumers today, because we can choose what we want to see and what we don't want to see. So the more that your message can be added value to consumers' time, the more valuable it is for everyone. So the less it's pushing offers in their face and more about bringing them into a conversation or a world, a magical world if it's Disney, the more you can build a relationship long term.
Alison, there's nothing vulnerable about Intel, is there? I mean,
no.
you guys are like hardcore technology.
We are
You're not vulnerable.
Right.
You're not. You can't be.
So we are a little bit. So what we are doing now is not doing any of what you'd consider traditional advertising like Disney or Farmers. We're doing really case studies. We're showing how our technology is legitimately being used in the hands of our wonderful partners and great customers. So for us these days, it's about storytelling, how it's being used. And we've moved away from, you know, this processor, this price, whatever kind of stuff. So anyway, that's, I mean, we're vulnerable in so much as just sharing really important stories in the world. And of course, some of those stories get flack. Some people don't like how technology is used. Someone will disagree with something all the time. And so we have an amazing crisis communications team if we need to do that.
But I think that also means you're breaking through, right? Like if people are complaining,
they're noticing.
Which sucks.
If it's creating conversation.
Right, it's such a cluttered ad environment. Part of me in my heart of hearts is high-fiving, you know, like just us as marketers that somebody noticed our stuff, because 98% of the stuff out there, people don't even know or don't even notice. There's no awareness of the brand or the product.
So we were going to move on to like consumer attention and you know, the formats that you get with ads, the short format, 6-second videos, longer form videos. But how important to you, and we've already talked about some of this already, but how important to you guys are the platforms that you're delivering your advertising on? As, you know, how much consideration goes into which platforms you're going to run the videos on?
Everything. So we work with our media partners, and we figure out who we're trying to talk to, and then which platform is the best. And we actually create bespoke assets and stories depending on where we're telling the story. So if it's Instagram, it's a beautiful photo that's probably got some movement or something to it. And if it's YouTube, you know, it's a 6-second video. But my point is you put the right asset in the right delivery tool. So it really, really matters. And I think that's just the only hope of breaking through, right? Is if you're really paying attention to who you're talking to and through what channel.
Dave?
So from an agency perspective, it's a lot different because we do all of the in-depth audience work, understanding who our 12 to 18 individual audience segments are, how they consume, where they consume, why they consume, who they are, what they care about. So a lot of work goes into the front end across 65 campaigns, and so communicating to brands or clients, it's here's where you need to be to tell that right story to get this consumer engaged in your product, your website, whatever the case may be. Then it becomes a resource issue on the brand side, and it becomes more of, well, here's what we're going to create, fit this into this plan, versus you really need to be in this 6-second space, this YouTube space. We don't have the resources to create. So how do we kind of work with them to build the right plan based on available resources and creative, our understanding of the consumer mindset, behaviors, consumption, and then build the best possible plan for that.
Can I compliment the Dentsu network quickly? Can I jump in?
Of course you can.
Okay.
Can we get this on video?
Yes, okay. So, and I don't mean this as a commercial for Dentsu, but legitimately believe this, that's true. We are no longer trying to force fit, here's my list of assets, now you guys go just figure out where you can run them. I'm really serious when I say we are creating the right asset for the right venue, and that's backed up in part because we're working with our media partner in the beginning to get those insights. And one of the coolest things, I just launched a campaign less than a month ago with the Dentsu network, and we're doing something that Intel has never done before, and I wonder if anybody here has tried it yet. Time parting. So not only understanding your target and where they are in the world, on the web, on the whatever, but at what time of day is the podcast? At what time of day are we hitting LinkedIn? At what time of day and how long? And we are able to maximize our spend so much better because of the really great counsel. And I have to say, and I'll give my team credit, we listened and we created those assets and we trusted the experts and we executed to that strategy. And I have to say, you guys, it's really important to think about that in the beginning.
We would like a copy of this video.
Now I feel guilty that I haven't plugged our agencies.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
Hey, Coleman.
Everybody can plug their agencies. The insertion orders that we need you to sign for copies of the videos are just over there. So we'll sort
I'll take
that
a
out before we
different
go.
swing at this because I feel like the topic was well covered by you guys. So we are 4 years ago, I would say we were making TV ads and like banner ads, pretty much, right? And like when we put that TV ad on Facebook, it was horizontal and it relied on audio. There were no subtitles, you know, like we were just, it was being done all wrong. Flip to 4 years later, where we're actually, so like you guys, we know where our target is. We know they're not on Twitter, they're not, you know, on TikTok, but YouTube is a big part of many of our buys. And like one fun thing that we did, so, you know, a hero spot would air on TV, and then some, say, cut down version or remix of it would air on YouTube. And we started playing, like, you know, toward the end of the YouTube videos when those buttons come up and it's really annoying, like where it's like subscribe below. We actually created buttons that were like fake buttons that the people in the car, or like the commercial that were trying to get away from the cougar attacking their car, they're climbing on the hood of the car and trying to hit the button. So it's sort of breaking that fourth wall, and it was really effective for us in terms of like getting the, you know, everybody's just trying to hit that skip button, but we turned it into a, you know, skip this scene button. So it was just like a funny twist on it that, you know, really helped us attack that critical problem of it is so important to not be tone deaf to the channel that you're advertising in. So say, like the example of putting a horizontal video in Instagram or Facebook that relies on audio makes me want to like, you know, hopefully those days are over for us as a brand, and I really think they are. But like, you know, shooting additional footage in vertical format, and you know, doing recuts in square, and like doing, you know, supers on the bottom that tell you the dialogue, or you know, putting even the script from the commercial on the YouTube channel and some metadata, so that people who are searching for crazy farmers insurance claims can actually find the spot.
So. I'm like really old, right? I'm probably the oldest person here. I reckon I'm the oldest person here. Probably. Yeah, I reckon. All right. It's inappropriate to ask birthdays, but maybe we'll do that after a few more red wines. So I remember TV advertising when it was just like the linear TV experience, right? And if you wanted to reach the entire UK population, then at 7:45 on a weekday. Now sounds like this incredibly rich, diverse, new frontier of video advertising. So, like, where are we going with all of this? What's the potential of video advertising? What should we be doing?
I feel like we got a glimpse at the future this year. We did a personalized video test with, the vendor was Persado. So, you know, everybody, when your auto insurance renews, you know how you get that big packet of mail that nobody reads? So what we did was we actually like created a personalized video. So, you know, you would receive that giant thing in the mail and ignore it, and then you would get an email that's like, hey, Dave, your rate has gone up $36. You'll see it here on page 3. And it was like, it's a video that's actually created for you. So, and what that's allowed us to do is to, you know, we talk about that concierge-like experience that really allows, you know, our target would be like, well, they created video just for me. We have a lot of still older demo people in our book of business.
The over 55s are the only people that don't press the skip button on YouTube.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, I believe it. So,
did they not know they can?
Yeah, correct. They have no idea they can.
Just checking.
Oh, sorry.
So no, that was kind of the wind down. You're good.
Apologies, I interrupted you. Dave, what's your take?
The future
The
of
future
video?
of video,
I think it's two things. It's addressable and it's personalization. And that's something we've been pushing forward on Disney for a while. We've been audience first for a number of years. Again, understanding the audience, their behaviors and whatnot, building campaigns and creative assets specific to that audience across the journey, right? So from broad awareness all the way down to conversion, essentially. But I think the more we can be addressable in all channels, TV obviously is the one that's ramping up, and a lot of partners are coming together to allow that to happen. Digital obviously is addressable. Being able to serve personalized messages to make sure you're connecting one-on-one. Because again, we all know this. We have choice as consumers of what we want to see and what we don't want to see. So the more that we can relate to ourselves or consumers, the more likely you are to build a relationship with them. The more you just push out advertising that's relevant to everyone in this room, the less likely we're all going to engage in it because it doesn't mean anything to us, right? So a lot of the big brands are starting to do this. They're starting to be more personalized. And as consumers, we are conditioning ourselves to expect that. And I think that's really important because 5 years from now, we will all expect personalized advertising. We don't know it, and then a lot of people currently, obviously not in our industry, don't realize it's happening, but we are conditioning them. So the more that we can be personalized and continue down that path, I think the more valuable for brands and success we will be.
Okay, so why, and this is you lot as the collective brand and agency world, like the entire collective brand and agency world, why do you all just keep on pumping money into linear TV?
We do not. So it's pretty, it was kind of a big deal. So we had Jim Parsons, you may know, although maybe you don't know our stuff as well as I thought you did. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. So we had Jim Parsons in really big campaign for a really long time on television, and this year we stopped. And it's kind of was a big deal. But we believe that we need to focus and target, and we're not, I mean, the PC matters, and the PC is still a big part of Intel's business and revenue. But because we have more of the opportunity on this B2B side in vertical industries to very, very specific targeted folks, that doesn't require a big, linear TV buy. So we took it out. It was kind of a big deal. And we're now working to focus on exactly which vehicle with video, though. We just did for the first time a video only campaign, not one banner. Can you believe it? It was fabulous. But really, exactly, thank you. This is a big deal, especially for the tech industry and especially for a big company like Intel. Thank you for recognizing. But the point here is that linear for us is not a thing. Now, I know that there's lots of industries where it still is super, super valuable. It's just that we're taking that aggressive stance to say we're going specific instead of broad.
Beth.
TV still works for us. I mean, our spots are entertaining. We're on our 6th wave of this campaign. We just created it's like the goose that laid the golden egg. Is that the thing? Mm-hmm. Thank you. But the shift we've really started to shift gradually into digital and even experimenting with new formats like the storytelling, long-form content, which is really funny when I come from a journalism background. I used to be a magazine editor when people read paper, and is coming to an advertising organization that is so TV focused. When you do content that's soft sell in nature, it's a real disconnect, right? Like people are like, where's the quote button and where's the big logo? How come you're not ending with a bug, like the farmer's bug and a picture of JK? And when you're doing something like storytelling, that actually undoes trust the trust that you're trying to build. We actually did 2 years ago, we did a study with one of our research partners that force exposed some storytelling to our target audience, and we measured their trust in the brand before and their trust in the brand after. So we did one heavily branded example and one lightly branded example. So I would say it's like a seesaw. The less branding you have, the more you get trust. And the more branding you have, people have brand linkage, but you actually lose some of that trust. So you kind of have to find that middle ground where you have enough branding that people can link it to farmers and not State Farm or Allstate. We actually have a big differentiation problem. We have like a logo in the office that's Allstate Farmers because customers will often call the wrong hotline to report a claim. And we're like, lady, you're a State Farm customer, not Farmers. So I would just say, we're starting to change the way we're doing things, and it's an exciting time to be at the company.
You want to crack, Dave, on that one, or are we skipping that? Do you want the agency's perspective on that, or are you skipping that one?
Yeah, we have a holistic video approach. So it's across all channels, including cinema, digital, OTT, linear, addressable, programmatic, every spectrum of where you can see video. And again, for Disney specifically, we look at our audiences and understand how, where, when to reach them. I'll say generally, from a holistic standpoint, our dollars are shifting out of linear and moving into more of addressable and or premium video, as they should be. We're following our audiences and where they're consuming and reaching them, whether it's day partying or whatnot. But when you come forward to client as an agency, right? Perspective, come forward to clients and you say, here's what we really need to do. Your audience is not watching TV. They say, but we can't just cut our budget. We can decline it a percentage, but we can't cut it completely. So you have to work within those parameters and just continue to educate your clients on where your audience is, how are you going to be most effective to drive the business. Then you look at the other side of the spectrum, and I know for Disney this is really important, and probably for you guys too, content integrations, brand integrations, and you need dollars behind that on TV in order to unlock some of these opportunities that they then leverage across different channels. So it's tough on the agency side because we know where the audiences are, we know how to reach them and how to drive the business forward. So it's just continued to educate the clients on where they should put their dollars and the rationale behind it.
Is TV still the biggest channel in America, or did digital overtake it? Do you know? Because in the UK, digital overtook TV, didn't it, a little while
I think
back?
digital's overtaken TV, but when you look at individual channels within digital, that might be...
The spend is...
Yeah, okay. I just got eyeballed by the marketing people. Can I just carry on asking millions of questions, or do I have to stop? Yeah. Okay, perfect.
You did promise.
I'm the moderator here. I'll tell you when they can talk or not.
Participation.
Yes, I did.
Them.
Okay, so audience participation time. Who's got a question that they'd like to put in front of the panel? I've got loads, but who's got a question? Burning question. Yes, at the back. Microphone is on its way. Don't worry. We want your contribution.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I work at so agency. I work on Hulu, video. I have two questions, so we'll come back around to me after everyone. My first question is around discovery. So you guys mentioned YouTube as a place to see an ad. You mentioned the Range Rover, Land Rover. I'm not sure which car is which, honestly. Example, never saw that ad. And as someone who works on Hulu, where we have a lot of content already, just inherently, and we're producing more content to share our content. That sounds crazy, but you know what I mean. I think that discovery is a huge issue. And if we think about, and I was mentioning that I looked at this yesterday, 11 hours and 25 minutes of media consumed per day, and it was, I think, 5.5 hours of video per day, so a lot, professionally speaking. And so how do we think about how to break through and define what success looks like when, we're all exposed to so many things, and just producing a video and saying like, wow, it's cool, and telling my friend, hey, we produced this video, it's really cool, is that enough?
For us, it's all about testing So TV is not obviously the area, linear TV anyway, is not the area to test in because it's so damn expensive. But like for social media, oftentimes we'll, take a video treatment and we'll try it on social first. And like that kind of testing led us to find like the first 3 seconds of our Facebook ads had to be dynamic, and that's normally where an advertiser would put the logo or do the ramp up in a TV spot. But in Facebook, you got to stop that thumb. So it's like sort of finding out what the secret sauce is for each of the channels. Like once we cracked the code, and I tell you, it probably took 5-6 months of testing, like doing very deliberate tests with enough audience that the results were statistically significant to see which one is driving the most, I don't know, engagement, or you can do a brand lift study with Facebook or whatever and just see which one's working for you. But you have to be that mad scientist.
I agree. I think it's all about testing. For Disney specifically, the competitive set on the Parks Resort side is much smaller. And in the Hulu world, the streaming wars, as everyone's deemed it, it's going to be much more competitive, much harder to really find your audience for your individual shows or content. And I think the more you know about your audience, the more you can leverage first-party data, lookalike data, the better off you are. I don't think there will be a time where scale is not a thing and it becomes very precise or precision oriented because you have to, and then you expand from there. But testing is obviously the one way, which I think we all know in this room. That's if your clients are willing to do it, which I'm sure they are. That's where you start, and you have a good testing strategy in place. You have clear KPIs. You're all aligned on what that means. What does success look like, and you go from there.
Awesome. That was a cracking question, yeah. Melissa. Really enjoyed it. And if nobody else puts their hand up, you can have number 2. So does anybody want to go? Oh, we have on the left, our left, your right. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Kimmy Fleischman. I work in branded content at Spark, which is another agency. My question is less about the data and more about the stories you guys are telling. So how do you identify what stories will resonate best with which audiences? And then how do you pressure test that from a cultural fluency perspective?
I have something that I call the Chris Griffin filter. My last name is Griffin. You can guess Chris is my husband. I say this to say, when we're trying to do a campaign or something with broader appeal beyond just Silicon Valley, I check with him because he is a 27-year San Francisco probation officer. Not techie, not in our industry, nothing like that. And so I jokingly say, if he can understand the story and the magic around something like Snotbot, when it could have been a story around just AI and drones and our Xeon and Movidius chips, who cares? But when we, I kind of test with him, hey, is this exciting? Is it interesting? And I'm kind of kidding, but kind of not. It's really understanding, are we telling a significant story that goes beyond Silicon Valley? And we really, really, really try to do that. One of the things we do too, that I've become really close to the field, our sales team, about, is when they're doing an engagement with one of our customers, I talk to them a little bit about, all right, what business problems were we trying to solve? What kinds of things were they talking about? They include marketing in. We've got a really good, tight relationship. And you hear so much from the customers. And so the Smithsonian is one where we were asked to digitize their 1.5 million artifacts that are underground in Washington, D.C. And it required this insane, I can't even tell you, really highly technical, heavy compute process. And so in that engagement, they talked about 2 things that were important to them. One was school children and their community-based school field trips. I did that in the 80s. There, I just aged myself, high school, in the 80s. There you go, math.
Child of the 70s.
Yeah. And so that's really important to them, and they wanted to get 1 billion people through their doors, and it's really hard to do with a physical space. So I heard about that from the field, the sales team, and that was that. Like, whatever, we're there digitizing the artifacts underground. And so our team went back and said, hey, how can we help them solve these other problems? And we realized virtual reality was a way. So we unlocked them, we created an art class for them so that they could get more people through the doors, but in virtual reality. And so just paying attention sometimes to what the customer's problems are, and then just paying attention and thinking like, I can market that. That would help my brand. It helps solve their problem. Check, 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 check. So I think those are the couple of ways that we think about it.
I'll just try to answer it a different way. So for us at Farmers, you know, it's a traditional advertising organization. So coming up with a content strategy, there were a lot of doubters. And so what we did was, you know, you got to pull in all the doubters, right? And to build the content strategy, you start with the brand book, you know, what are your pillars, and sort of grow from there. For example, for Farmers, like our, we have so many products, right? So, but the areas of strategic importance for 2019, for example, I'll make it up, our home insurance and business insurance, because we want to diversify into business insurance. What can we do storytelling-wise around those two products, just to like oversimplify it? Now let me say, like, I've seen this really go wrong, and this is like part of what could go wrong with video storytelling. You know, like the Land Rover example earlier worked because they made a documentary about people using their product, and there were people you cared about. They were authentic, it was real. There's another example out there of, you know, Yeti coolers. They're like $50 coolers. Or for a coffee cup, which I'm gonna leave like at Starbucks by accident. So they did a 20-minute or 30-minute long documentary about baseball that occasionally, like, there would be a Yeti cooler in the background. And I was just like, dude, like, who greenlit that? Like, I don't associate Yeti with baseball. I don't know if they have like a big sponsorship or something, but like, to me it was like, okay, an example of one that worked because it was really endemic and people authentically using the product, and then one that just felt like such a stretch that, you know, I don't know if there was enough there. So you just kind of have to be deliberate and try to link it to, for us anyway, it's like linked to this year's business goals or next year's business goals. What are the products we're pushing? And then what stories can we tell? I hate the word authenticity, everybody's overusing it, but like with real people, with real stories, with no scripts, like what's there?
I think we've got time for one more question from, yes please, in the middle at the back.
Sure. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm with a PR and communications agency. So you're each talking about how you're finding your target audience in very different ways, specifically video, but it sounds like you're also taking risks and you're pushing your organization to do that. So tell me about, how do you push your organization to take these risks, and then how do you reconcile that with the potential of failure?
I always pitch it as a test. Who can object to a test? It's just a little test. That's, I mean, I'm serious. Like, we are a risk-averse company by nature, go figure, and legal does not give us a lot of wiggle room with like testing different languages, you know, like different calls to action, or there's so many words that we cannot ever use. It makes it difficult to innovate, but you know, when we pitch something as, we're just going to spend $100,000, it's just going to reach X number of people, we're just going to see what we learn. It seems to slip by sometimes.
Do you have to take out insurance policies on your campaigns?
Our lawyers are unrivaled, man.
I don't know. I don't know. Got antitrust issues, you know. I don't know. So I agree. It's the exact same thing. Sorry to jump right in there. It's test. And I kind of have this perspective. It's funny. We were talking about this earlier. I don't know if in marketing, I mean, maybe because I'm married to a probation officer and he deals with actual real problems in the world every single day, there's nothing that we're doing in marketing that is like that important. And so I kind of have this thing that there isn't really failure. And I don't mean that to sound like a jerk, because of course things don't go according to plan all the time, but I mean, if it's a campaign that I've created with a team and creatives have come up with it, who can say that it failed? Maybe it didn't have the best ROI, but then you learn from it, right? So, I don't know, there's something in me that says in marketing, a failure, unless, and we all know there's a couple of big brands that are tone deaf, right? That's it, then yeah, you have a failure. I won't name the soda company and the very famous, yeah, right. So as long as it's not that, I guess it's not a failure, but you just take a risk and you try stuff. And so I think that risk is really good, and I think that the only way we're all breaking through now is by trying new things, and piloting and testing is perfect.
Yeah, and from an agency perspective, I'm fortunate enough to have clients that want to take risks. They don't look at failure, they do look at it as a learning opportunity to see where we can pivot to try something else or adjust targeting or whatnot. But they expect that from us, and we are always bringing them new ideas, but it's always backed up with the rationale as to why it makes sense. It's not, we met with so-and-so and they have a cool product, we should try it. It's more of understanding how it relates to their business, their audience segments, and they say go. And you know, it normally works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's not a bad thing. No one's dinged for it. It's more of how quickly can we pivot to ensure we are being more efficient and continuing to drive the business.
Awesome. Okay, home stretch. Okay, I can see there's a few people nervously tapping their empty glasses. So don't worry, we're nearly there. And I haven't touched my glass for about half an hour.
Time for the Intel bong.
So yeah, exactly. Home stretch. Right. So all three of you have been incredibly successful in your careers. We know that for a fact. What one piece of advice would you give to the crowd to take into their own careers? Yeah.
Me? Okay, you looked right at me, so I
know.
figured it was me.
I couldn't back away then, could I? I couldn't be like, Beth.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, so for me, I've had a lot of changes. I would have in my mind from very early on a direction that I thought I was going. So I was in 3 years in a Doctor of Pharmacy program in college, and I'm clearly not a pharmacist. So something must have changed. I realized that I wanted to change direction, and instead of thinking of that or seeing that as some kind of failure or shortfall, I realized, oh my gosh, I just am not finding passion in this, so go try advertising, which is what I did. And my point is, and if somebody could give me the confidence that I could have saved my parents a little bit more money if I had the nerve to tell them a little bit earlier that I just wasn't happy counting pills every day, then I think that that would be my advice, is the twists and turns and the opportunity that happens in change or reorgs or a new job or a new boss who comes in. I always see that now as like the best opportunity ever, and I always try to take advantage of it.
Dave.
Always be curious, regardless of the situation. I've always been on the media side, the agency side. And I started when a time when digital was kind of a new thing. So it's come a long way, and I've grown with it because always staying curious, you always want to learn more. I'm always trying to find out what's new, what's next, what's happening with video, which is why I'm here to learn from these guys. But always be curious. I think that's super important, and it allows you to not be complacent or stagnant in your role, and there's always something to learn, even if you're not getting promoted or you're staying with the same agency or moving on to a new account. There's always something to learn. There's always an area that you are not great at, you're good at, that you could be much better at. So stay curious and continue to learn.
I would say, so I'm on the creative side. I was a literature major in college. I wish I could go back and change that, because then later I had to go get my MBA. But if you're on the creative side, which I think some of you guys are, learn enough about the business side that you can join the conversation. And if you're on the media buying or the data side, learn enough about creative and why the creative choices are made, that because that's how very few people understand both sides, the data side and the creative side. Like, how do you actually build a content strategy that makes sense for your brand? Then what's the right media channel for it? And like looking into Google Analytics and seeing where the highest bouncers are coming from for your campaign. It takes, like, being holistic like that. I think that's where people head into like CMO land, right? Like, where you need to be able to not just understand the numbers, but what the creative choices were that led to the numbers. So both left and right brain, I guess.
All right, final round. One word answers, okay? YouTube or Facebook?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Sadly, Facebook.
Hulu or Netflix?
Netflix.
Hulu.
Hulu.
Okay, this is like a one-word answer where you can actually have more than one word. One trend we will see in 2020.
Voice.
Streaming wars.
People doing authenticity wrong.
Good one. One thing you do every day.
Personal. For me, that's what's most important. I have dinner with my family every night.
Like, that's the longest
I'm
one
not
word.
traveling.
That's the longest one-word answer I've ever heard.
Dinner.
Thank you. Dave?
I also eat. Exercise.
Exercise, nice.
I don't know. Social media? I don't know, yeah. Let me think on that
Did
one.
you
I'll
put
come back
hyphen
to you.
in that social media to make it one word, not two?
I did, I mumbled.
Perfect, excellent. Hang on. Favorite destination? Didn't know that you were getting this one, did you? This is one of mine. I've thrown it in. Favorite destination?
Mexico.
Mexico.
Italy.
Italy.
My hometown, Philly.
Okay, nice. Trump. No, I'm not allowed to do that. I said I was going to be an arch villain today. You can take the fourth. Which amendment
In
is it when
a
you don't?
card game, the trump card is my favorite. Not.
I pass.
Gravitas?
Brilliant. And finally, football or soccer?
Football, Niners.
Isn't it the same?
Yeah, right. That's why I was going.
Sick burn. All right. So with that, on that bombshell, the fact that you clearly don't know the beautiful game, let me just ask the entire audience to give an amazing Jefferson round of applause to your fantastic panel. Too kind, too kind. And so I don't think I've got anything more important to say apart from please join us at the bar for drinks and chat and continue the conversation. Thank you very much.